Another tier element variant, and this deck is crazy. They are endless. What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you the most varied and future invested deck around, and that is Tearlaments, but this time we are doing it with Branded. So you guys voted on what variant you wanted to see the most and you chose Branded. Completely understandable considering since we received the Fallen of Alba structure decks, the deck has been utilised absolutely everywhere, and with the introduction of the Tearlaments, at current this is the most controlled build you can get. When you look at punks, it's all about the mills. When you look at the pure version, again, it's all about what mills you can make. Whereas with this one, it's more so you can control exactly what you can send, because Branded Fusion will help you trigger a Tearlament card or a Tearlament monster graveyard effect, as well as the abilities of the Merrill and of course the Rhinoheart. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, we are going to dive headfirst into the Tearlament Branded or Branded Tiers profile. So you start off with the best tier monster in my opinion, and that is Triple Shiren. This card is absolutely amazing. So during the main phase, you get to special this card from the hand, and if you do, you send one monster from your hand to the graveyard. Now this does have great synergy if you use the Patchwork engine, but it also has synergy with, of course, your Despian Tragedy. Now not many people are playing this, it's entirely up to you, but what I like about this is I kind of want to make sure that I've got as many options as possible. Now 9 times out of 10 with this, when I'm trying to send a card via card effect, you want it to be a Tearlament monster, especially with stuff like Branded Opening, Branded Fusion as well. But there might be some times when you've already got the Branded Opening or you've already got the Branded Fusion and you kind of want to send your Tragedy in order to search you out an Aluba for the normal summon of the Aluba to give you the Branded Opening, or if you wanted to spice it up a little bit as well, you could put a Branded in red in the deck. And I'll talk about what I would consider putting that in, or even a Branded Banishment in as we go through. We've then got your Triple Havness. Now this of course is the hand trap of the Tearlaments themselves. Again, really cool card. I really like it. It's one of the ones that even if your opponent knows you've got it, you can still kind of spring it on them and be incredibly powerful in what you can do. So what this allows you to do is this one will allow you to, when your opponent activates a monster effect, or a card effect specifically I believe, a monster effect, sorry, you get to special on this card from the hand, and if you do, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Now, what you've got to be very careful of is a deck like this is very RNG, and what we mean by that is it's all based on luck. There's no guarantee of exactly what you're going to mill. You can mill 3 cards that are completely useless to you. You could mill 3 of the best cards that are going to send your deck to a whole new level. It really does come down to how lucky you're feeling, but then that's where it comes into play using the Branded Fusion, because something like that will actually give you the ability to trigger and control exactly what you send. We've then got the 2 Rhinoheart and the 2 Merrill. Now the reason we've got 2 and 2 is because they're basically vying for the normal summon spot. Now your better normal summon will be the Rhinoheart, but you ideally want to be special summoning it back from the grave, because not only do you maintain your normal summon, but you also get to send another Tearlament from the hand to the graveyard, which will trigger its effect. The downside of that is you need to have a Tearlament card in your hand, and technically when you include the trap cards, you're only going to be rocking with 12 Tearlament cards that you can send off of the Rhinoheart Revive. The Merrill on normal summon or special gets to mill the top 3 cards of your deck. So again, it's not as controlled like Rhinoheart, because you send exactly what you want. It will be based off of what you can excavate, so it can be very risky. You kind of want your normal summon to be either Aluba or Rhinoheart as an alternative to kind of get you everywhere you need to go. You've then got the 1 Meta Noise and the 1 Solic. Now you can cut these if you want to. I still think that the Book of Moon and Send is really important for during your opponent's turn, and so is the Solic as the negate as well. If you wanted to take these out, I'd probably advise putting in some more disruption cards that are either going to help you fuse or help you mill. And what we mean by that is you're going to be looking for your Branded Banishments, you're going to be looking for your Branded Branded in red, and you could even use the brand new card that lets you special summon a monster. I believe you can special summon a monster to your opponent's side of the field, but ultimately I'm not playing the Ido lock, so you don't even need to worry about it. The final Tearlament card, even though it's not really named Tearlament, is of course the Primeval Planet. Now, and a Terraforming. The Primeval Planet is actually really, really good. So on activation, it searches you out a Tearlaments monster. And then if a Tearlaments fusion monster or monster is sent back to the extra deck or the main deck, you get to target one card on the field and destroy it. So that's really good because you can target your own Kit Kalos to destroy it to then excavate the top 5 or mill the top 5. But obviously it is an out to stuff like Mystic Mine as well, because as long as you're shuffling stuff back, and that's where Fusion Deployment comes in, not Fusion Deployment, sorry, Fusion Substitute comes in, you can trigger that to deal with a Mystic Mine in game 1, which I've actually had to do a couple of times and it saved my ass. Then the card that synergizes between the two of the Branded engine and of course the Tearlaments engine is King of the Swamp. The reason that this synergizes between the two is it can act as Fallen of Albaz, so it does mean you don't need to clog your deck down with Fallen of Albaz. You can just play the one in order to send it from the deck to the grave or from the hand to the grave. Then when you get into stuff like your Albions or your Lubellions, you can actually banish or spin the King of the Swamp back into the deck, but it will be going with something like a Tearlaments as well in order to kind of get you a Lubellion. Then of course you've got the one Fusion Substitute and the one Poly. You can probably cut this down to just playing the Fusion Substitute or just playing the Poly if you want to. The Poly gives you access to the Guardian Chimera. The Fusion Substitute gives you the access to the Banish and Draw, so it's a card that can still be utilised even after you mill it. And then obviously you can fuse with your field if you want to. The other cards, before I get into the Branded section itself, is we are playing 2 Shadow monsters in the form of Beast and Squamata. Now, you could cut this down to 1 and only play the Beast because it'll give you the most advantage with a nice little draw. But the reason we've got 2 is because you can actually send the Squamata, whether it be off a Branded Fusion, whether it be milled off of a Tearlaments, and then send the Beast. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, why would I do that? The reason you do that is because you'll find yourself a lot of the time not actually having as many materials in the graveyard as you want. This is just gives you another form or another way in order to control exactly what you put there, to give you as many resources to fuse back for Masquerade Dragon, Lubellion, or even Shadow Window. So that's it for pretty much like the bridge and the Tearlaments cards. Obviously tried to keep it more Tearlaments focused than Branded, but you can kind of see the synergy between the two. For the Branded engine and obviously the Albaz engine, we've got the one Aluba, the one Albaz, and the one Tragedy. Now you can easily make this 2 Alubas if you want to, but the way I see this is I ideally want to be special summoning Aluba off of Branded Opening, and through Branded Opening it's going to ideally get me into a Branded Fusion, or it's going to get me into a Branded Banishment. The Tragedy is obviously there because if it is sent via a card effect, so milled, or if it's sent off of something like Branded Fusion, or of course by Branded Opening, it will then be able to give me the Aluba, which is my main normal summon of the deck, and give you the best opportunities possible. We've then of course got triple Branded Fusion and double Branded Opening alongside a single Branded Banishment. Now I know you might be like, whoa, why have you only got 2 Branded Opening? Again, the issue that I kind of see with Branded Opening is I'm just imagining early games or early stages of the game, activating the Branded Opening. Yes, by discarding a Tearlaments monster you will be able to trigger its effect. However, unless you want to lose the advantage you've got in your hand, which already you'd be burning through because you would have activated Branded Opening, you would have discarded one off of the Branded Opening, and then you would have spun another one back, meaning your hand's only going to be 2 cards. Yes, you'd replenish it by getting the Branded Fusion, making it free, but then if you go into a Lubellion, you're discarding another card, leaving your hand size of 2, which to me isn't the greatest. So the way I see it is early game, the way you're going to do this is you'd activate Branded Opening, you'd discard a Tearlaments monster, you'd summon out your Aluba, you would then go like Chainlink 1 Aluba, Chainlink 2 the Tearlaments that you've sent. The Tearlaments would only have 1 target on the field in the form of Aluba to spin back. So what you would do is you'd spin back the Tearlaments, you'd spin back the Aluba, you'd create Masquerade Dragon or Quinteris, whichever one you think is better for that situation, and then of course you'd get the Branded Fusion. So the other is you're going to be recycling your Aluba, which is why we've only got 1. And the Branded Opening is there because once I've already got Branded Fusion, my next best target will be the Branded Opening, because then my Banishment could be something that I could do later on. The other really good thing about the Branded Opening as well is if you set it during your turn and activate it during your opponent's turn, again, it gives you a control in order to trigger your Tearlaments effects during your opponent's turn. And if you've been studying the Tearlaments as much as everyone else, you'll also know that you can pretty much get nearly endless fusions during your opponent's turn, because straight away by activating Branded Opening, sending a Tearlaments, As long as you can trigger the Tearlament to get into the Kit Kalos can then send to trigger another Tearlament monster. If you were to send a Rhino Heart, you can summon that back and trigger again in order to fusion summon another one. So before you know it, you're getting into the stuff like Millennium Eyes Restrict, Kaligas. You can even get into Winders during your opponent's turn. You can then also get into stuff like Dracus Depelias. And the best thing about Branded Opening and the Handvis is it's stuff that can dodge the Dark Ruler no more. So Dark Ruler isn't the greatest against this deck, but it will still cause an issue. Then for the generic spells that are either protection or bridges between the two, one Foolish Barrel, send Tragedy, send any Tearlament, off you go. Instant Fusion, summon out Winder, summon out Kit Kalos, and then during the end phase, if you've got a Brand Opening in the graveyard, you can banish it to protect the Winder from destroying itself, which is really cool, because then it will destroy itself during your opponent's end phase, and then you've locked your opponent out for an entire turn, and then you're good to go the next turn. We've then got the one Corp of the Grave, again, pretty standard on that one. And then for the hand traps, we've got Triple Ash, Double Ogre, and Double Crow. I think these are like the best hand traps right now, this format. Crow's just incredibly good. I think against Splites, if you hit Ronin Toad, it can cause them issues. If you hit the target they're trying to bring back off a Sprite Elf, that can cause them issues as well. The Ash and the Ogre on the Gigantic can also be very, very damaging, because that's kind of their part to get to the Swap Frog engine, or it might be to get to the rest of the Sprite engine as well, in order to keep their plays going. So that's it for the main deck. It's currently 42 cards. With a deck like this, I feel you've got the space to bump it up if you want to. You just need to make sure that you're bumping up stuff that's going to allow you to either consistently get to your branded stuff or consistently get you to your tier stuff. One thing that I did consider was playing the Merry Carrier alongside the Albaz Dragon and Allure of Darkness. But if you were doing that, you'd probably want to up the Tragedy count. And by doing so, the idea is that you'd be looking to get to... like, banishing your tiers isn't the end of the world, because Lubellion can spin them back. And Lubellion can spin 2 of them back at a time in order to get you into a Kit Kalos. So it's something that I'd be looking at, and I'd probably be looking at bumping up the Lubellion more so as well. So we'll start off with the Albaz cards. We've got the one Albalonatus. Now this is a little bit more specific for my local environment, because there are a lot of Dragon Links going around. So being able to get him to the board or anything like that can be very, very powerful. Alternatively, if you were to cut him, I would honestly go for a second Lubellion, because Lubellion's the one you're going to make more times than not in this deck. And then that's going to lead you into a Mirror Jade, but Lubellion can lead you into other cards as well. We've got the one Albion, because you're not going to really be summoning it, because the only light you play is Ghost Ogre. But it could be one of them worst case scenarios that you banish your Ghost Ogre and a Fawn of Albaz. But it's going to be more there is to be sent off the Mirror Jade. And then by sending off the Mirror Jade, that gives you your branded banishment, and it forces, or it gives you another form of interruption. The one Quinturius and the one Masquerade. So the Masquerade, we know, is an incredibly powerful card for time. And like I've kind of said, if you go for like base minimum, open up Branded Opening, activate during draw phase in order to kind of dodge Veilers and Drolls. The best fusion monster you can get into, if you choose to discard a Tearlament and activate its effect in the graveyard, will of course be Masquerade Dragon, and that will put Aluba back into the deck. The card that bridges the two, of course, will be Dracus Depelia. This card's incredibly good against Splites, because not only does it negate their effects, but it reduces them to a level 1. And then off the back of that as well, you're able to recycle some of your fusion monsters if you use Lubellion, and you can do it with your Tearlaments as well. We've then got the one Winder for your Shadow Lock. Your Millennium Eyes and your Kaliga, both of these are being used with King of the Swamp, because they can act as Relinquish and Alistair. So again, these are like a soft lock. There is a way where you can technically end with all 3 of these on board. It would need you to have two King of the Swamps in the grave in order to get to these guys, and you would need to do it in such a specific order, because you'd have to go Millennium Eyes would have to be the first one to get on the board to protect you from everything, then Kaliga, because it will let you get a one monster effect, which would then be the effect that gets you into Winder, or vice versa, you'd have to get Winder and then Kaliga, because you'd only get one special summon. But apart from a Dark Ruler no more, that is an incredibly difficult board to break. Obviously, and a Super Body if you wanted to. Then for the final card, you've got the one Guardian Chimera, the one Kaleido Heart alongside the 2 Kit Kalos. Now, obviously, these are the main Tearlament cards that are going to get you going. The Guardian Chimera is just your main boss monster that can outboards. Now, obviously, the only way you're going to make it in this deck, because you have to use field and hand specifically. You can't even use the graveyard. It is just through a poly, but you can get easy access to it when you want it and when you need it. You will notice that I do not play Super Poly in this build. Again, that is entirely up to you as personal preference. Yes, it is very, very powerful. It's just trying to find the space for it, because there are ways of Super Poly in your own stuff in order to kind of push for like an OTK. And then obviously Super Poly can be very, very good when you look at stuff, especially with the new one, Garura. When you look at stuff like sprites, if they go the Dupe Frog route, you can use Dupe and they're totally awesome, and you can go into the Garura, and Garura does like really nice double battle damage as well. So that is an option for you to take into account as well. I'm not saying I am completely opposed to it, it's just something that I haven't really found the space for as yet. Now, whether that be cutting down the hand traps, whether that be adapting the list a little bit more in order to work with that, I will soon see. This still needs a little bit more testing, but I'm just trying out all the different variants of the deck. Like you saw Punk yesterday, you're seeing Branded today, and then you also saw Pure on the week of release as well. So there's loads of different options for you to kind of look into, to kind of train it up, and kind of work it from there. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.